Welcome to another reading of Mehera-Meher. We're on page 367, and the title of the chapter, the middle of the chapter, is called Jokes. One morning, Baba got up early. After tea, he began walking towards Seclusion Hill. The women were happy that Baba was taking a vigorous walk. He liked to take walks in the morning, before the sun was very high, and they followed him. He continued beyond the path and field, toward the Shendi Nalu riverbed. Baba walked for 3 miles or more that day. Later, Mara would observe, Baba used to take us walking on all the hills around us. Sidebar says Baba took both the Meherazad and Mehrabad women to Gorakhnath Hill at 6:30 a.m. on 21 January 1949. He was always first. He could walk so nimbly and fast. When I felt later that he was giving us that What I felt later was that he was giving us that practice to see if we could stand the strain and stress of walking and climbing for the new life, which was now less than a year away. Baba and the ladies walking in the sun at Gun Diolali, 30 December 1948, with Mara and Khorshid. Whoops. Sorry, I hit the wrong key. Another picture. Baba, Mara, and oh, I don't know who that lady is. With Goher, Jalu, and Mara, and Gulmai. Again at Gundiolali, 30 December 1948. Jalu is behind. There are a number of ladies behind. People in bird costumes. Kitty is a duck on the top. Goher is a rooster. Meru as a pirate and Mani as a circus dwarf. Baba and Mara in front of a tree at Gundiolali, 30 December 1948 again. So Baba's 50, 54 at this point. Prime of his life. Mara in kind of Western clothes at Mount Abu, 1949. So, chapter 83, Mount Abu. On Mara, on Mayor Baba's 55th birthday, Saturday, 12th of February, 1949, the Mirzad women resolved to give him a special surprise. After discussing it, they came up with this idea. Goher, as noted elsewhere, was the sort of person who did not like to be in the forefront or do anything theatrical. She was just the opposite of Narina. What if they could persuade her to do a dance for Baba all by herself? They confronted her with the idea, but Goher refused. No, I can't, she said. For Baba, you must do it, Mani insisted. Mera recalled, we pushed her and made her agree. But it was not easy. As on the previous two occasions when Mani had enlisted Goher to perform for Baba, Mani patiently showed her what to do. It was only a few simple steps and a short song, but Goher said, how can I turn like that? I feel too shy. Mani did not give up. She made Goher practice over and over. Move your legs, Mani said. Together. You must move them together. Goher was ready to quit. It's pointless, she moaned. I can't do it. What will I look like dancing early in the morning? But Mani encouraged her. Baba will enjoy it. He will be happy. It went on like this for days, and finally Goher learned the 1 minute routine. The women rose early on Baba's birthday to bathe and be ready before Baba came downstairs. When they heard the night watchman leave his room, they positioned Goher in front of the staircase. She was wearing a costume that they had stored from their Nasik days, a full, gathered skirt with a decorative chowli, short blouse. Her face was made up like a dancing girl, bright red lipstick and plenty of rouge on her cheeks. As Baba descended the stairs, Mani, Meru, and the others held sticks, banged on the lids of pots and pans, and sang, Happy Birthday. Then Goher started to dance. Baba looked so surprised, Mera reported. Fine, he gestured to Goher as he watched her twirl about. After hardly a minute, Goher stopped and said, I only know that much, Baba. Do it again, Baba said, enjoying this novel birthday surprise. Afterwards, he warmly embraced her. Baba and the women visited Mehrabad later the same day. 3 days after his birthday, on 15 February, Baba sent Narina, Elizabeth, and Walu to stay at Mehrabad while he went to Pune with Mera, Mani, Meru, and Goher in a car driven by Adi Sr. Erich, Manu, and Katie secretly joined them in Pune so that those left behind at Mehrabad would not find out and feel hurt that they were not included in the trip, while Manu and Katie were. From Pune, they journeyed by train to Belgaum, where Vishnu had been sent in advance to arrange their stay. The sidebar says, Katie had been in Bombay with Dowla for a medical checkup. Dowla returned to Mehrabad. Kaka and Chugan stayed at Meherzad, but the new house was left empty. The plaster walls, now dry, were to be painted with distemper while they were away. Baba told us to tell them how we wanted it, said Mara. Just whitewash didn't look nice. So before they left, Mara chose the colors for each room. Green for the dining room, for instance, and pink for Baba's bedroom, as well as for their own rooms. From Belgaum, they drove to Vengurla, where Dawn had traveled ahead, and made reservations at the small rest house on the cliff in which they had stayed previously. This was Goher and Katie's first time in Vengurla, and Goher recalled it was a beautiful trip, a complete holiday for Baba. We went out on walks with him, waded in the water. Sometimes Baba went ahead with Erich or Don while we swam. There was a nice cook who cooked well. Since Vengurla is a seaport, Baba allowed them to eat fresh fish and even meat. The generous, elderly Mohammedan caretaker made delicious crab and lobster curry, Mara remembered. Baba had a little curry and rice and some pomfret. Baba ate quickly, then got up and washed his hands. He told us to eat well. He would go out on the terrace while we finished eating. After eating, we joined Baba on the veranda. Mara and Katie ate slowly, and Khan Sama, the caretaker, said, "Take your time, children. Eat well, and I will tell you a story. Listen to the story, and you will be able to eat more. The more you eat, the happier I feel." Katie told him to begin, and he narrated a long and interesting tale. Baba was pleased with the caretaker's loving service, and when the man mentioned that his daughter was going to be married soon, Baba gave her an expensive present. Mara did not care for just walking on the beach, so Baba permitted her and the others to swim near the shore. The women wore swimming caps that they had made out of some cotton material because they did not have, nor did they like, the ready-made rubber caps. While they were swimming, Baba went for a long walk along the beach with Erich. Baba always preferred to dress comfortably, but when going out, he did not wish to draw attention to himself, so he did not wear pajamas in public. Instead, he put on a pair of tailored white silk pants with a drawstring, and, with a sadra and coat, the pants looked like slacks. Baba loved walking, Mara related. One day I said to him, "It's very lovely to be in the sea. Salt water is very healthy. Why don't you swim too, Baba?" Baba looked at me and said, "I don't know how to swim. I haven't taken swimming lessons." I said, "It doesn't matter. You can swim, you can wade into the sea in your boxer shorts. It will be nice and healthy for you." Baba liked the idea. "All right," he said, "tomorrow I will. But no one must watch or even look towards this side." The next day, Mara continued, "We were dying to look, but we didn't. So we don't swim if Baba so we don't know if Baba ever did swim or not. Perhaps he waded into the water with Erich." One morning, Baba inadvertently went into some water that was not so pleasant. While the women were collecting seashells on the beach, Baba went with Erich to contact a must who lived in an isolated hut. Baba asked Erich if there was a shortcut to get there. and Erich said that they could take a canoe across a brackish inlet, but it smelt awful. Baba chose the shortcut, so a fisherman's son started paddling them across in a canoe. But some of the boys' friends were roughhousing in the water alongside, and they tipped the canoe over. Baba, Erich, and the boy fell into the dirty water. The channel was not deep, but Baba disappeared momentarily beneath the surface, and Erich had to dive under the smelly water and rescue him. Baba then told Erich to go to the bungalow and bring him a change of clothes. That would leave Baba alone, which almost never happened, and Erich protested. But Baba insisted. The women were not at the bungalow when Erich arrived, so Erich brought a clean pair of his own pants. When Erich returned with the clean clothes, Baba made him rinse the dirty clothes and hang them in the sun to dry, so that when he gave them to Goher for washing, she would not be suspicious, in quotes. After contacting the must, Baba arrived home shortly before the women. When they came, he asked them to prepare his bath immediately, before lunch, which they did. Meru washed the bathroom and filled the pails with water, while Mehera brought a change of clothes. When Meru went to collect Baba's dirty clothes from the bathroom, she found Erich's pants, along with Baba's, which had become gray and filled with sand. She brought them out and showed Mehera, who asked Baba about it. Smiling, Baba told them the whole story of the canoe trip with Erich and being tipped over in the swamp while trying to contact the must. Since Baba had been successful in doing so, he was pleased and did not mind the misadventure. As on their previous trip to Vengurla, the noise of the ocean constantly dashing on the rocks became irritating after 4 or 5 days. So from here, Baba and the group went to Amboli, where they stayed for 3 days at a rest house, familiar from the Blue Bus tour in 1940. There, too, Baba ordered delicious food. But the incident that was most vividly recalled from this stay had to do with a broken chair in the dining room. Goher had warned everyone not to sit on it. But once she herself sat on the edge of the chair and got stuck. Baba, Mehera, Mani, and Meru could not stop laughing. After all her warnings, Goher had been the one who was caught. Goher remembered scolding Dawn at Amboli. Donkin was such a meticulous person, always wearing a proper hat and carrying a thin umbrella with exact folds. But when it came to tying their bedding rolls and luggage, he was a little too meticulous. This must have been a recurrent problem for Goher, as she recalled telling him, "Don, why do you tie them up like this? It becomes too difficult to open." On 28 February, Baba and the group returned to Pune, and from there, Katie went to Mehrabad, while Mehera, Mani, Meru, and Goher drove with Baba, Erich, and Adi Sr. to Bombay. The women rested at Ashiana, Well, Baba and the men went to Mayerjee's. That night, Baba, Erich, and the women left by train in two first-class sleeping compartments for Mount Abu, where some of the other men Mandali were already assembled for an extensive must tour being planned for the next 3 months. And there's a sidebar next to this paragraph. I'll read it. They had tea, bread, and butter in Kirki, and then relieved themselves in the lavatory of an adjoining movie theater. Baba's group ar- arrived in Ahmedabad on 1 March and continued by private bus to Mount Abu. A sheet was hung in the bus to screen off the front section from the back, and Baba sat in front with his brother Jal and Baidul, discussing how the house where they were to stay had been located and other particulars about it. The women heard Jal tell Baba that the women's bungalow was terrific. It had so many rooms, a dining room, a living room, and several bedrooms. And what about the rooms at the Mondale's quarters? Baba inquired. Just one, Jal quipped. Standing room. The women went to see the men's residence once and found that it really was quite cramped, but they liked their own house. In parentheses, Munshilal's bungalow, Bistanala, until they discovered that it had one unexpected problem: bed bugs. Iron cots had been hired for them. At first, the women were happy about this because there was less chance of them being infested with bed bugs, which prefer wood. The women settled down to rest, but despite the iron cots, there were so many bed bugs that they could not sleep. Baba told them to put up mosquito nets, but the bedbugs continued to trouble them. Finally, Mani complained again, and Don came to see what could be done. He had them disassemble the iron cots and put their mattresses in a row on the veranda. Then he built a fire and put the iron cots into it. Mara had not felt the bed bugs in her cot, so she had not given her bed, and Mani teased her. If there are any in your bed, they'll come to mine. A few nights later, Mani got in bed under the mosquito net while Mara was still up, moving about the room. Mani asked her to bring a glass of water. She had found another bedbug and wanted to drown it, the preferred method of extermination. Mara brought the water, but just as she was walking back, but just as she was taking back the glass, Mani said, "Wait, I found another one." Then she found a third. Then a fourth crawled out from a corner of the mosquito net, where they had been hiding all along. "See?" Mara said triumphantly. "Not one was in my bed. They're all in your bed." Baba was with the women for the first week in Mount Abu before he left to contact musts. He knew all the roads in this pretty hill resort from previous must trips, Every morning he took them for walks to show them where each road led, to the gymkhana, the lake, and so on. He also showed them the Dilwara temples, exquisitely carved in marble, and interesting granite rock formations around Naki Lake. He even took them to see the cave where he had done seclusion work. Near the cave, they visited a small farm on top of a hillock, and Mani took a photo of a cow bowing down to Baba. The sidebar says, of all the temples they saw on their travels, Dilwara temples at Mount Abu, with intricate carvings in white marble, were Mehera's favorite. Baba explained that since he would be gone for so long on must work, they could go for walks every morning. These long walks at Mount Abu, 2 or 3 hours a day, were to Mehera, reflecting on it, more preparation for the new life, when so much walking was required of them. Walu had arrived in Mount Abu the same evening they had, with dawn. Her ankle was injured, so she did not wish to accompany them on their walks. Because Baba thought it was too cold for them to wash their own clothes and vessels, a servant named Draupa was hired to do that. But as soon as the other women left, Walu turned the servant out, locked the house, and did most of the housework herself, alone inside. The ladies returned home to see Draupa sitting outside. Why didn't you let her in? They asked Walu. Walu was particular about her duties and replied, we don't know if she's honest. It's better she is let in when you return, so that I don't waste time watching her. Mehera observed, Walu was so practical and good. Draupa washed the vessels and bathrooms and filled water in the samovar, but Walu did not trust her to wash the teacups carefully and insisted on washing those herself. Because of Mount Abu's elevation and cool climate, many stately bungalows, some belonging to Maharajas, had been built there. These often had gardens, beautiful gardens, and Mehera was especially excited to see some new plants. Here, for the first time, she saw a wisteria vine with its clusters of purple flowers hanging like grapes. She even took some small plants back to Meherazad when they left. But Mani remembered, often on our travels, we would see beautiful flowers and want them to grow at Meherazad. Mehera thought it would be so lovely to grow it here, but it often wouldn't work. They would only grow in that area. The palace of the Raja of Bijapur had lovely gardens, and its gardener was a Maratha, whose heart warmed to them when they spoke to him in his native tongue of Marathi. He even opened the palace and let them have a look inside. Mani took a photo of Mehera standing in the doorway, wearing the shirt and slacks Mehera always borrowed from Mani for walks because she liked the fit. Mehera opined, I didn't look good in slacks, as my legs are too short. But she was pleased with the photo. Mani also liked it because her shadow is seen in the foreground. Another photograph of Mani by the lawn was taken by Mehera. Baba had left a few of the men specifically to see to the women's needs and to act as watchmen at the gate of their bungalow. Meals for the women came from the men Mondale's side. So the women, sorry, my cat is interfering. Meals for the women came from the men Mondale's side, so the women did not have to cook during their stay at Mount Abu. Baba too ate the same food. Consequently, there was never anything to eat in the house except bread and butter. What's wrong with that? They had to wait for their food, and after long walks at that high altitude, they were starving. And the sidebar says huge heads of lettuce were served with their meals in Mount Abu. Mani watched from a window, thinking, when is the food coming? I'm dying of hunger. She peered anxiously down the road to see whether the local man, hired to bring the tiffins on his head, was in view. Every day it went on like this. When Baba was with them, the Mandali were alert to send the food promptly. When the women were alone, the men were a bit slack and it never came before 11:30 or 12. In Mount Abu, as in most other places they stayed, a small bell was hung on the veranda of the house, with a string that stretched to the front gate, some distance away. Whenever anyone wanted admittance, they pulled the string at the gate, which rang the bell at the house. Goher had the responsibility of answering the bell. One day she heard it ring and immediately stopped what she was doing to see who was at the gate. No one was there. Puzzled, she looked up and down the empty road. She went back to the house and asked the others, did you hear the bell? They all had. A minute later it rang again. Goher went to see, but again no one was there. The third time it rang, she concluded that some children were playing a trick. Still, not a soul was in sight. Who was doing it? Goher was determined to find out. She hid behind a bush and watched until the mystery was solved. Sparrows were perching on the string, causing the bell to ring. Baba left Mount Abu on 7 March and remained in, in search of musts, not only in the area, but traveling to Bombay, Nagpur, Jabalpur, Allahabad, Benares, and even Hyderabad in South India, stopping in between for a few days at Mount Abu. For some reason, Baba had also brought all of the tins containing must treasures, and these were kept in his room the whole time. To the men Mandali, it seemed as if he were finishing off one phase of universal work with the musts before beginning a new one. Perhaps none too soon for some of them. As Donkin reported about these final must tours from Mount Abu, And this is Donkin reporting. When Baba began this great work many years ago, there was a morning freshness about it that stimulated his mandali to a vital enthusiasm. But these labors have now gone on for so many years that the men who go with Baba on these tours have begun to show symptoms of a languor of the spirit, not unlike the ennui that oppresses one on a steamy summer afternoon. That's from the Wayfarers, page 26. On 20 May, after 2.5 months of almost non-stop traveling, Baba and the men with him returned to Mount Abu for the last time. All were utterly exhausted, and Baba's health was apparently breaking down. Shortly thereafter, on 25 May, Baba sent a telegram to the Mandali at Mehrabad and Ahmednagar. The last two strenuous midsummer must trips done during my illness have severely told upon my health. But this is not even the shadow of the 1949 personal disaster to come. And that picture is at Gundiolale, 30 December 1948. And that picture of Baba, date and place unknown. This picture mirror is at Rusi Pop's bungalow, February to August 1948. And this is at Mount Abu, 1949. Baba garlanded and Mara with a bouquet. Again at Rusi Pop's bungalow, February to August 1948. Meherzad, 21 June 1949, prior to entering the Blue Bus seclusion. Padre took this picture. Chapter 84, Blue Bus Seclusion. Before going to Mount Abu, Meher Baba had indicated that he might go into seclusion for 40 days in the blue bus at Meherzad. And on 27 May 1949, Baba and the group left Mount Abu to return there. They reached Bombay the next day, and again the women stayed at Ashiana while the men went to Meherji's. Despite his apparent ill health, Baba contacted three musts during his 3 day stay. After stopping in Pune at Bindra House for lunch, Baba and the women, driven by Adi Sr., arrived at Meherzad, where soon Rano, Narina, and Elizabeth were called from Mehrabad. Ali Shah was brought on 7 June and Baba worked with him for 10 days. The blue bus in which Baba and the women Mandali had toured India in 1939 and to 41 had been raffled to Baba lovers. Keki Desai won it but had given it back to Baba. Having at first said that the bus was as holy as Krishna's chariot and should not be used to make money, Baba then gave it to Sarosh, who overhauled it at Sarosh Motor Works. Thereafter, except when it was used for brief forays with the Mehrabad women, Sarosh plied it as a public bus in Ahmednagar. When it became too old to use, the tires were removed and the body was dumped in the garage yard. Baba described what happened to the bus. Sorry, Don describes what happened to the bus next. While Baba was away at Abu, this body was set upon four empty 4-gallon oil barrels in a shady nook between two buildings of the Mandali's quarters at Meherzad. The base was filled with bricks and mortar, and as soon as this solid foundation was complete, a great deal of skilled work began, work that was supervised down to the last detail by that indefatigable taskmaster, Kaka. The long and short of all these labors was that when Baba returned from Abu at the end of May, he found the battered and depressing relic of 3 months ago transmuted by Kaka's alchemy into the snuggest and gayest little cabin. To protect it from sun and rain, a shed was built overhead, and near its rear door, a small bathroom and commode was kept. On one side was a small room where Baba would sometimes sit with Ali Shah. On the other side, a garage, later Mandali Hall, and in front, a tall bamboo matting fence which Baba had ordered to be built so that the makeshift cabin was completely secluded. By 19 June, the work was completed, and in retrospect, it seems as if all that had gone before with the blue bus was but preparation for its apotheosis in what was to be called Baba's Blue Bus, or Great Seclusion. 2 days later, Baba held a meeting with 150 persons, including all 28 of the Mehrabad men Mandali. Erich and Kaka had decorated the seclusion area with Baba's 7-colored flag, a painted photograph of him, and large golden letters that spelled out Meherazad. Baba began by stating, I have called you all here to take part in the purification ceremony to cleanse the atmosphere and keep it free from maleficent spirits and evil influences. Prayers were offered, and all departed after Baba distributed prasad. The next day, 22 June, Baba inspected the blue bus cabin and gave detailed instructions for each of the men and women Mandali at Merazad before beginning his 40-day seclusion at 5:35 p.m. No one except Kaka was to enter the seclusion compound, and no man, such as garden boys or other male servants, was allowed on the women's side of Merzad during this time. And the sidebar says only women servants were employed to work in the garden on the women's side. When the bazaar bags arrive from Ahmednagar, Baba ordered, Goher herself was now to lift and carry them inside, calling Rachma, the maid, with a basket to help if it were too much. To relay any message or request from Baba, Kaka was to ring a bell at the gate to summon Goher. For the first 8 days, Baba followed a rigorous schedule, which called for Goher, through Kaka, to supply 3 buckets of warm water for Baba's morning ablutions, to furnish Kaka with tea and coffee sets, to send 3 slices of bread, then send tea and milk separately for 3 cups of tea, with 3 more slices of bread, to clean Baba's drinking water pot, to send drinking water for Baba, and to send Baba's 1 meal a day of rice and dal. When called by the ringing of a bell inside the enclosure, Kaka was to clean and sweep the blue bus cabin and make Baba's bed, as well as attend to any complaints Baba might have, such as the clatter of berries falling on the bus in the night from the neem tree overhead, despite the shed over the cabin. Sidebar says Kaka removed as many berries as possible with a long pole. Throughout the seclusion, Baba was not able to sleep for more than a few minutes at a time, and thus neither was Kaka, although there was also 3 servants from Pimpalgaon who alternated watch duties. The only other men at Merzad during the seclusion were Nariman, Meherji, and Jal Karawala. From 1 July, all of Baba's Mandali and lovers throughout the world shared in his universal work by keeping silence for the entire month. No fixed schedule was followed during this seclusion, but Baba called Kaka if he needed anything, such as the water, honey, and very weak tea on which Baba fasted for part of the time, but which did not agree with him very well. The honey apparently gave Baba nausea, and one night, 7 July, he actually vomited. Baba also commented, although infinite restlessness is my constant companion, I have never been so restless as from July 1st to the 9th in my present seclusion. Later, after the seclusion ended, Baba revealed, no one except myself and God knows what I went through during those 9 days. On 10 July, Baba broke his fast with a little rice and chutney. Mehera and Mani were called to see Baba for half an hour in the room next to the blue bus, and it was later Pendu's. When Baba clapped, they went inside and saw that 2 or 3 chairs had been placed in the room. Baba was seated on one of the chairs. He asked how they were, and knowing that the others were anxious to know his condition, he said they should tell them that Baba is well and sends his love. Goher, who was waiting outside, escorted them back to the house without seeing Baba. Mara was happy to see Baba, of course, but she felt that he was straining himself too much. Can you imagine to be shut up in that bus fasting? One would feel claustrophobic, not to speak as well as to work, to fast and to be shut up in that thing. After working, one would want to run out in the open. To fast, to be on silence, and to be in seclusion was very difficult for Baba. It told on his body and was a strain. But Baba's work always came first. He did not see to his health. After having spent 24 days in the cabin, however, Baba apparently agreed with Mera because he gave instructions for the mandali in which he mentioned going off somewhere for a change of scenery. Mani was to type the instructions, the gist of which was that Baba wanted a complete change of environment for 9 days, after which he would be returning to the blue bus for the final 7 days of the 40-day seclusion. Baba ended up continuing his seclusion in Pune for 1 week and then returned to Merzad on 24 July. He spent the next 7 days intensifying his fast and seclusion, working sometimes with Ali Shah. On 1 August, the final day of the seclusion period, Baba saw Mera and Mani at 6:30 a.m., while the Mehrabad Mandali and some from Ahmednagar assembled outside. The men on the men's side and the women on the women's. All had been on silence for 1 month and had no breakfast that morning. Mara broke her silence then by saying, Baba. Baba stepped out of seclusion looking fresh and radiantly healthy, as he have, as if he had just returned from a holiday. He took his seat on a specially decorated dais and gestured. Now prayers will be offered and everyone should be still and quiet. If any of you make the slightest noise, he joked, a ghost will haunt you. After the prayers and the breaking of everyone's silence by their saying Amen, Baba distributed rawa to each, and the blue bus seclusion came to an end. The next morning, Baba sent Narina and Elizabeth back to America to prepare for his arrival at the center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, in the near future. Mani put on a puppet show that day as a surprise for Baba after his long and difficult seclusion work. He had her repeat it for the Mandali and again at Mehrabad when Goher and Meru became the puppets come alive. Mani made her own puppets out of paper mache, which on this occasion included a Spanish flamenco dancer and an Italian count. The work I have done in Merazad during this seclusion, Baba later commented, I have not done anywhere in the world. Color picture. Baba and Mara next to a stone wall with beautiful flowers. and that's at Mussoorie, 1953. Chapter 85, Mehera Wants This, is the title. After the blue bus seclusion, Baba told the Mehrabad men Mandalay on 3 August 1949 that he would be coming to Mehrabad in 2 weeks to discuss and decide about their future. He also said, I want to be free from all ties in view of the coming disasters from all four sides, one of which is financial. And I seek your cooperation in this because it is the only one in which you can help. To the men Mandalay, it was the women Mandalay who were the chief financial burden, particularly Mehera. During the blue bus seclusion itself, Baba had even sent a message to Adi Sr. in Ahmednagar to send a certain type of grass to Meherazad, which Mehera wanted. Mehera did sometimes request certain things, but at other times Baba himself wanted something done or purchased and blamed it on Mehera. Adi Sr. observed, many things Baba wanted to do, he would come to the men and say he wanted something because, quote unquote, Mehera wants it. Padre and I would discuss it among ourselves. A cartload of grass, for instance, costs 500 to 600 rupees to have transported all the way to Meherazad. But Mehera wanted it. Should I send it? I didn't know, really, if it was Baba or Mehera who wanted it. I explained to Baba, this is not the season for this type of grass. Baba said, then go to Delhi. Go anywhere. Just bring it. Yes, I can go to Delhi, I retorted. I can go to England, but it will be a tremendous expense. Once, Adi was sent to Pune to buy a white horse and cart for Mehera at the cost of rupees 3,000. The groom brought it back to Ahmednagar, but Adi had to resell it soon after for next to nothing, when it was decided not to keep it after all. Later, when Baba went to the West in 1952, Adi remembered that, quote, even a pair of pants for the Mandalay was too much. But so much money was spent on this woman. It went on, Adi continued. Every day it was something. Sometimes I lost my temper as far as Mehera was concerned. I actually used to revile and abuse her. Quote, what the hell? This lady is sitting there, not knowing anything of the outside world, I would think. Who is this woman that she causes so much trouble for the men Mandalay, asking for this and that? What is this Mehera doing? She doesn't understand. She's, quote unquote, inside and asks for anything at any odd time. She doesn't understand the difficulties. But, poor thing, she did not know. Baba said she represented illusion, Maya. He would have moved heaven and hell to keep Mehera with him. Wrecking 10 families? So what? Later on, we found out that it was all Baba, and he was making her the scapegoat. Things to be done, as well as things to be purchased. He would use Mehera as an excuse. Baba would get a thing done by saying, Mehera wants this, when it was he himself who wanted it. Baba was very shrewd, Adi Sr. concluded. I have never met a shrewder or cleverer man. Padre concurred and expanded on this theme. Quote, Baba's habit when he wanted something was to say, Mehera wants it. Some material with a certain color or quality which would not be available in Nagar, Vishnu was sent to Bombay to bring. Many times, Vishnu showed me the samples he had brought. And the sidebar says, Mehera must have said something nice about Vishnu because once at Guru Prasad, when Vishnu came and sat before Baba wishing to tell him something, Baba made a wry face and began abusing him. Quote, I don't like this person. Every time I am in the midst of discussing some other matter, he comes before me with some new headache. I don't like to see his face. Of course, the Mandali were used to this kind of treatment in front of others, and Vishnu kept quiet. Then Baba remarked in Gujarati, I don't like him, but Mehera likes him. So, in other words, because Mehera likes him, Baba has to also. So, back to the text. As manager of Meherzad, Kakabaria became so fed up with the women, he often cursed them in Gujarati, swearing that they should be chopped like onions. Goher explained the situation from the women's side. Baba at times told the men to do something because Mehera wants it, whether she did or not. He wouldn't do this with the women because we were all living in the same household together. Naturally, we did what pleased Mehera. But to the men, it mattered, and they resented it, as they had nothing to do with her. Sometimes, when she did want something, Mehera wouldn't realize how difficult it was to fulfill her requests. We had to explain it to her. Because it was what Baba wished, pleasing Mehera meant pleasing Baba. So we went through it, although it did use to disturb us, used to bother us. For example, we would say, I wish Mehera wouldn't ask Baba to do such things. But we put up with it. It was an obstacle, like a training for us. Mehera was there, like Maya. We had to cross that hurdle. In what other way could we have pleased Baba than to please Mehera? It was like obeying him implicitly. Meru observed that there was a phase in our life with Baba of Baba wanting to please Mehera and keep her happy. But Mehera was very innocent and childlike. If she expressed a desire for something or a liking for it, Baba would want to fulfill that wish. It was not as if she wanted to have it, but she liked it. By fulfilling her wishes, it was as if Baba wanted to make up for all the years of restricted life Mehera especially had gone through in the earlier years with the other women Mandalay. But for them, Those years were always happy, for they were staying with Baba and wanted to please him. And all the orders he had given them were a constant remembrance of him. Meru pointed out that the incidents related above by the Mandali occurred over many years and taken together distort rather than give the true picture. For Mehra was never extravagant and had great concern for Baba's budget and problems. Meru speculated that there may have been another reason for Baba's behavior. When Baba asked the Mandali to do this or that, or bring this or that for Mehra, regardless of cost, this disturbed the men, for they felt Baba was not being practical. I feel Baba created these situations to show the men Mandali also Mehra's relationship to Baba and the importance of her role as his beloved for the future when he would not be physically present amongst us. On 5 August, Baba left Merazad for Satara with Mehra, Mani, Meru, and Goher. After being in seclusion, Goher explained, Baba would change the place, the whole atmosphere. He wanted to get out of that place for some time to have complete relaxation. Adi Sr. followed in his car with the luggage, while Erich drove Baba and the women. Goher remembered sitting in front this time between Erich and Baba. A curtain hung between the front and back seats so that Erich could not see Mehra, Mani, and Meru. I used to be so thrilled sitting next to Baba, Goher recalled. I had to squish next to Erich so that Baba would be comfortable. But I didn't mind, as long as I could sit next to him. After stopping in Pune at Bindra House for lunch, where Baba almost met a few close followers, where Baba also met a few close followers, they arrived in Satara that evening and stayed in the Dak bungalow for 5 days. Previously, when Baba had resided in Satara for several months in 1947, the men Mandali had come to know the Khan Sama of the Dak bungalow. The bearer and cook who worked there loved Baba, Mehra observed. The cook preferred nice dishes, such as curry and rice or meat patties. Baba tipped them well when he left. Whenever Baba went to Satara, he stayed there. Baba had supper with the women in the dining room, but frequently he finished first, then washed his hands and waited outside on the long veranda with Jalbai, who had accompanied them from Pune, while the women continued eating. Mehra remembered one night when Baba, having finished his dinner, was walking outside on the veranda. It had it had rained half an hour before, and it was chilly and cold. Hearing a noise in Goher and Meru's room, Baba glanced inside. 4 goats were standing on Goher's bed. Baba clapped, and the 4 women rushed to him. Pointing inside, he gestured, "Look." Mehramani and Meru began laughing. The sight was so funny. Goher too joined in, but said, "We're laughing, but there will be droppings on my bed." Goher ran inside and shooed the goats off her bed before any real damage was done. "We had a good laugh," Mehera said, "and Baba also was much amused. We teased Goher for many days. We told her they didn't go on anybody else's bed. It had to be yours. Standing huddled all together on your bed, they probably wanted to be warm and dry. The veranda was not enough, so they came inside the bedroom. But even that was not enough. They had to climb on your bed." Dr. Alu Kambada had been a follower of Baba's since 1935, and on one of his recent visits to Bombay, she had told him about her intention of managing a guest house in Panchgani. Alu had rented the place for a year and requested Baba to visit there, saying that Mehera would love it. Baba had agreed, but added, "in 50 years." So the sidebar says the name of the guest house was Silver Oaks, but it is no longer standing. In August 1949, Alu's father had just died of cancer, and her mother had become paralyzed. So she was in Bombay when Baba wrote, asking her whether she still had the bungalow, as he would like to come and stay. Alu replied that Baba could come whenever he liked, and Baba instructed her to prepare everything herself, taking no one else's help. "See that no one goes there with you," he wrote. Alu was also informed that Baba was not allowing anyone to wish him namaskar, or to touch, embrace, or bow down to him. No greeting or salutation with folded hands in any fashion was permitted. She was to greet Baba like a statue, but it did not turn out that way. Alu remembered, "I was so frightened. How to get ready for Baba? I went to Arnavaz and said, Baba told me to arrange for it, but to see that no one goes with me. Arnavaz gave me rupees 500 to get the place ready. I took my aunt and a cook to help. Nargis Dadachanji and Dina Talati accompanied us. For the few days prior to Baba's arrival, we cleaned and scrubbed everything. Pots and crockery were hired. Baba and his group were scheduled to arrive in Panchgani on 10 August, but the day before, during a rainstorm, they paid a surprise visit from Satara. Nargis and Dina ran into the bathroom to hide. I was wearing an ordinary dress and looked very shabby, Alu said. Outside, I confided to Mani that Nargis and Dina were there, and Baba's order was for me to be alone. They were to have left before Baba arrived, and so were hiding. Baba asked what we were whispering about. Mani told Baba his order had been broken, and Baba said, "All right, let's go inside." Nargis and Dina also were filthy dirty, but Mani clapped. "Baba wants you to come out." Reluctantly, they did. Baba said, "Is this the bungalow where you've invited me?" The table was on the bed, a chair on the table. Baba, we will arrange everything, I promised. Baba told Nargis and Dina, all right, since you have come all this way, have breakfast with us tomorrow and then go. Baba left, and the whole night we worked. When Baba returned with the women Mandali the following morning, the house, now decked with flowers, was immaculate. Mehera and the others were amazed at the transformation. Is this the same bungalow I saw yesterday? Baba teased. He was very pleased, and Mehera too was happy. Breakfast was served, and Baba again told Alu that he was pleased. Every detail had been seen to his comfort, Alu proudly recalled. On this trip, besides Baba and the four women Mandali, were Erich and Jal, who had come from Pune. Arnavaz and Carmen Masi also arrived from Bombay. Alu stayed in the main bungalow, while everyone else was accommodated in separate cottages. Baba was in a very good mood and asked Arnavaz to sing. Her song prompted him to give a short discourse on love. Then Baba said that he was thirsty, and he asked Mehera to bring him a glass of soda water. Dina asked, how can we create love? Mehera handed the glass to Baba, who replied to Dina with a twinkle in his eye, drink soda. Baba and the women had stayed in Panchgani 3 or 4 times before, and Mehera always liked it there. The cool, forested hill station was a pleasant change from the arid, semi-desert landscape of Ahmednagar district. The author once asked Mehera, what was the most beautiful place in India that you went with Baba? She replied, we liked Panchgani and Mahabaleshwar a lot. Mount Abu also, but Mount Abu was much smaller than Mahabaleshwar. The next morning, Baba and the women were up by 5 o'clock, exhausted from the long days of getting the place ready. Alu was still asleep. Baba came at 6 o'clock, clapped, and woke her up. Don't you feel ashamed? He first asked, and then added, did you hear any noise in the night? Alu said that she had not, and Baba told her that both Meru and Goher had been disturbed by a tapping sound on the roof. It must be a ghost, they had remarked. Alu thought it more likely that it was troublemakers trying to get her to vacate the building. So she told Baba, others who have stayed here have said the same thing, but maybe it is only some miscreants. No, Baba stated, there is a ghost here. But why be scared? Ghosts have no bodies. This spirit was a good person who insulted me in the past. Because of this, he has had to suffer for hundreds of years. I have come to release him. Alu concluded, so my wish to entertain Baba was fulfilled after many years, and the spirit was relieved as well. Perhaps I had hired the bungalow for that reason. For recreation, Alu had brought many games, but when she showed them to Baba, he asked, where's the ping pong table? Baba told her to put everything away except for the Chinese checkers and to arrange for a ping pong table within an hour. Frantically, Alu canvassed the area, found a ping pong table that she could borrow, and had it delivered to the bungalow. Baba hit a few balls back and forth with Alu and then told her to play with Mehera. They played Chinese checkers with Baba also, and during one game, Alu exclaimed, Baba, you stole that piece! You stole it! Baba maintained that he had not cheated, and Alu replied, without thinking, You're lying, Baba. Baba looked at her quizzically and asked, What? I stole? I lied? Alu then realized. Baba wanted me to remember that he was God and that I should maintain my respect for him and not put him on my level. Skits and entertainments were performed for Baba. One evening, Baba proposed a wrestling match between Dina, who was twig like, and Carmen Masi, who was rotund and heavy set. And Dina should win. All enjoyed their quote unquote match. Once, with Erich driving, the women went into a shop to buy some material for Baba, leaving Baba sitting impatiently in the car. Erich, who took a dim view of the women's activities anyway, reported, Shopping with the women. They even made Baba wait for them. Baba gave them several explanations and discourses during his 2-day stay. When Alu once pointed to a stone where she felt Ram and Sita must have sat in their wanderings in this area, Baba nodded his confirmation. Then he too sat there. One day, Baba told the women to accompany him on a walk. Meru proposed going to the Tiger Valley cave, which they had never seen, and Mera agreed. Baba asked Alu if she knew where the cave was. She said that she did, so Baba told her to show them the way. Alu was glad to do so, but she suffered from rheumatism and could not walk quickly. Much to Baba's consternation, she lagged behind and they missed the way. Baba took Alu's hand with his right hand while he held Mera's hand with his left and began walking with them hand in hand. This was a great privilege for Alu, who had been told not to touch Baba. I was so shocked, she remembered, as we were not even allowed to greet Baba. I had been on the right path, but I couldn't find the way. Then I thought, this is like the spiritual path to the final goal, and Baba will help me. Baba was symbolically leading me to the destination. When they arrived at the cave, Baba remarked that they ought not to have come, as it brought back all the stressful memories of the intense pressure of work he had done there. Meru felt terrible for suggesting it, but Baba told her and Mehera not to worry about it. These were happy days with Baba in Panchgani, a real holiday after his intense seclusion at Meherazad and before the impending personal disaster that Baba had predicted, which would unfold in the new life. But they had no idea then of what would shortly transpire, and those in Panchgani simply enjoyed this special, intimate time with their beloved. So we'll stop here at the bottom of page 392 continue next week. Oh, well, here's a bunch of pictures. Let's look at the pictures first. This is 1948, 30 December, Gin Diolali Dak Bungalow. Mani or Nagu took the picture. Okay, I guess that's it for the pictures. We'll start here next week at the beginning of part three, New Life.